In this video we'll demonstrate the list fill options that allow you to specify the size of a list item by using the fill keyword. So you can see that what we have over here is a very simple list that has been configured to display, to scroll horizontally, and also this list is using a freeform template, so we can drag on the list horizontally, and you can see that the width of each item in the list has been set to an explicit size. In this case it's 150 pixels, and I can also use momentum scrolling, so if I drag quickly you can see that momentum scrolling moves the list around. But let's go back now and look at the new fill option. So I'm going to go back to design mode now, open up the list. So you can see that we're using static data for the list. We could just as easily be using SQL data. And the list has been configured with a freeform layout. And here's our list template. So I'm going to go back now to the list properties. And we can see here that, in actual fact, this list did not have any width specified. So we could have gone here and given, say, a width of, let's go here and say 150 pixels. So now the list basically has an explicit width for each row. But now let's go back and try out the fill setting. So we'll go back now, and instead of 150 pixels here, I'm going to click on the smart field, and you can see that the builder here explains what the keyword fill means, which means it's going to fill the viewport, which is the width of the list. So I'm going to go here and change 150 pixels to fill, and now when I go over and view the list, we can see that instead of seeing the second row and the third row and the fourth row of the list all at once here, I'm only seeing one row at a time, because each item has been set to completely fill the viewport. So there's row number 1, and there's row number 2, and then row number 3, and they're all set to completely fill the viewport. However, notice that that as I scroll this, I can scroll continuously, which means that I can stop drag scrolling over here, and now I'm going to see part of row number 1 and part of row number 2. So it would be nice to be able to set the snap size so that the list scrolls in discrete amounts. So in other words, if I'm dragging on the list and I stop scrolling now, that we would then continue to animate the list so that a complete row item comes into view. So let's go back and take a look at how that can be done, and let's also take a look at what would happen if we used the fill option on the list height as well. So let's go back now to list properties, and quickly we'll first go here and just set the height to be fill as well. Now go over to run the list, and now we can see that the height of the list is also filling up the viewport. So there's row number 1 in the list, there's row number 2 in the list, but you can see that with continuous scrolling, which is the default, I can stop drag scrolling at any point in time, and I'm left in somewhat of a limbo state here with part of row 1 and part of row 2 turned on. So let's go back now to the list, and now let's turn on custom scroll properties. And I'm going to specify that on the x-axis we want to scroll in discrete amounts, and I'm going to set the snap size to 100%. I can also choose specific pixel size, but 100% is the width of the viewport. So let's go now and check it out. So we'll go here now, and now I'm going to start scrolling, and you can see that basically we're never left in a state where you have a partial of row 1 and a partial of row 2 showing. So as we navigate, basically the list always scrolls a complete item into view. So if I scroll less than 50%, we just go back. If I scroll more than 50%, we go on to the next row. So let's pause now and pick this up in the next video. So we're continuing our discussion on the new list fill properties and custom scroll properties. And you can see here that when I do momentum scrolling on this list, You can see that with momentum scrolling you can scroll multiple list items at a time. Now in this particular use case where we're filling the list with one item at a time, it might be desirable to only allow the user to scroll by one at a time. So let's go and turn momentum scrolling off for this list. So we'll go back to list properties here, and in our custom scroll properties we're going to go here and turn momentum scrolling off. So now when we go to the list and I drag quickly on the list, you can see that we only scroll by one item at a time. So turning off momentum scrolling in effect makes this list behave very much like a panel card in a panel navigator. So you can see that conceptually we have the list displaying one item at a time. In other words, it's behaving like a panel card, but we've got the carousel effect here that a panel navigator would have. So the ability to configure a list so that it behaves like a panel card in a panel navigator is a very powerful aspect of the list control. Thanks very much for watching.